Hi guys, this is Erica Weston with
Bally.
Sports Midwest, and you're listening to my favorite St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio.
As the world's only personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment and your DNA, ID Life provides its members with high-quality ingredients backed by pure science.
It's science.
Check out rockinthatidlife.com and speak with Dustin about how you can reach your goals today. That's rockinthatidlife.com.
Center Ice Brewery is a proud sponsor of Let's Go Blues Radio. Visit centericebrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or make a reservation in their awesome tap room. That's Center Ice Brewery, located in Midtown St. Louis. Let's go Blues!
Welcome to Season 9, Episode 42 of Let's Go Blues Radio. This is the fully vaccinated, often imitated, but never duplicated, not the Blues NHL podcast, not Beyond Checkerdome, not We Went Blues podcast, not Chasing Pucks with Panger, not Chili's Week in Hockey, not the Blue Line, not Blue Notes podcast. We are the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. You like that list of failed blues podcasts there, Bill?
Well, not failed, just on hiatus. Right?
On hiatus. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I should have listed the Blue Line twice.
Ever fails. Yeah,
that's true. There was two Blue Line podcasts. I should have listed both, but I met both of you if you're listening. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by rockinthatidlife.com, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA, and by centericebrewery.com, St. Louis's first and only hockey-themed brewery. We're broadcasting live on Thursday, July 1st, 2021. This is franchise episode number 308 all time. I'm your host, Jeff Ponder, and I'm joined by Bill Day. Kirk Price is on assignment. For your listening pleasure, we'll be talking St. Louis Blues hockey for the next little while. To interact with the show on social media, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just do a search for us. If you can listen to a podcast, you can certainly search the internet. Have you checked out our Discord server? Blues fans can talk with other Blues fans with either text or voice chat. The three hosts of the show will periodically be in there this summer, especially when any news breaks. For more info, go to letsgoblues.com/Discord. Or as Kurt says, Discord. Yeah, Discord. We're dual live streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the show. Smash the bell so you'll get notifications when we go live. Bill Day, how is your week going, sir?
Oh man, it's been a week. I'm happy to be here tonight and hope I can help the team. But yeah, it's been quite the week. I have to pay close attention to Sheldon behind me. He's come back from the brink. We thought we were saying goodbye to him last Friday night, and so we're just absolutely ecstatic that he's still with us. But he's kind of in bad shape right now, and he's about to fall off the couch. So.
Yeah, hey, you're a good boy, Sheldon. We're all rooting for you. If anyone follows Bill on social media, he's been kind of posting updates. So, yeah, man, it's tough. I've lost a lot of dogs in my lifetime, and it never gets easier. Even when you get older, you think, oh, he's sick, it's fine. I'll cope better as an adult. You never do. It's always tough.
No, you absolutely do not. That's. We're fortunate this time around, that we didn't have to say goodbye. And I do want to give a shout out to Dr. Kirk Hubbard and Hannah and the rest of the amazing staff at Hawthorne Animal Hospital in Glen Carvin. We thought we were saying goodbye to Sheldon, but we all, we were able to see him through it. And he made quite an amazing recovery from Friday night into Saturday, and spent a couple days in the ER. They gave him tremendous care. And we have a new perspective on all the medical problems he's had in his life, and hopefully we'll be able to treat it and give him a few more good years with us. So
yeah, hopefully he's still a young dog at 7. So I'm hoping you got a lot more time left with that little boy.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like he's trying to get comfortable back there at least. So.
Yep. Hey, it looks like me in bed. My wife always yells at me when we go to bed at the same time because I'm tossing and turning, can't ever get in the right spot. So yeah, I hear you, Sheldon. I'm with you, buddy. So announcements we want to get to. First of all, well, Bill and I both planned on being at Center Ice tomorrow night. That might have to change for Bill because of the issues he's been having with Sheldon. But I will definitely be at Center Ice Brewery tomorrow night, Friday night, if you're listening, July 2nd, for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. I know that Crappy Goalie, listener of the show, he's going to be coming up there with me. Possibly a listener, Leon, as well, who's also a friend of the show. And a couple other people that I know that might be interested. So if you're wanting to hang out, if you're, maybe you're vaccinated, you want to get the hell out of the house and start, getting back to normal life, come on up to Center Ice Brewery tomorrow night. Should be a good time. And Bill, I hope you can make it because every time we go, we always have a good time.
Right. And, the 2 times that we've been out to catch a Montreal game, it's been a success story. And the Habs certainly need it. So
yes,
I'm going to do my best. So we'll no promises, but I'm going to do my best to be there at least for the first 2 periods. So
our friends over at Blues Hockey Podcast will appreciate this reference, but I'm thinking we're going to see Carey Price from the top rope tomorrow night. I see him being the top of his game. So let's hope that happens.
Yeah,
which he already has been. He's already, even this whole series, even though he's given up some goals, he's looked great.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I thought the first goal he gave up last night was soft, but the one goal Vazzy gave up was equally soft. So they kind of canceled each other out. But yeah, I expect the same thing. I expect Montreal to come out amped, and if they can get 2 goals, that's been their thing. Get Carey Price 2 goals, and he'll win for you. And they haven't been able to do it this series so far. But going back to Montreal, getting their coach back, it's first Stanley Cup Final game in the building, and I guess somebody didn't pay the right bribe to get the attendance up to 10,000. But
that really upset me. I really thought that we were going to get that up to 10,000. I get why. I'm not mad, but it's just, oh man, of all the times for Montreal to be in the Cup Final, like, you need your crowd behind you. Now, I will say the last round when they were playing in Montreal, it was pretty damn loud still. So I'm thinking those fans are going to bring it, but it'd be nice to get some more in there.
Yeah.
Maybe by Game 6.
Yeah. Let's get it to Game 6. That's the goal now, right? So
yep, for sure. Hey, they win it in 6. There you go. That's what I kept saying when the Blues lost Game 1. I was like, well, that means they're going to win it in 5. Then they lost Game 3, and it was, well, they're just going to win it in Game 6. That's the mentality you have to have as a hockey fan.
Damn straight.
So, official beers of episode number 308. Remember, you can follow us on the Untapped app. And I want to say Untapped clearly is not a sponsor of this show, but we love Untapped. I actually been showing some friends the Untapped app, some of my fellow beer snobs, and they think it's great, and they've all signed on and joined. So if you haven't checked out Untapped and you like different beers, it's just a fun little way to kind of explore the beer universe. You can find Kurt on there at CPrice12. Find me at JPonder94, and Bill is at Billy Blue Note 33. Bill, let's clearly we have no other options. Why don't you go?
To answer your pregame tweet, no, I am not having another double IPA. Actually, talked about it in the pregame or the pre-show. That little dragging a little bit, so I thought I'd mix it up and try something totally different.
Ooh.
Guinness Nitro Cold Brew Coffee.
Is that good?
So, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's not my favorite. It's hopefully it'll do the job that I want it to do of giving me a little bit of beer and a little bit of coffee to get through this, because it's been a long day. But I mean, it's smooth. And I was wondering if they were going to do it. I grew up drinking Guinness. Like I didn't drink.
Grew up
beer
drinking Guinness
until when I started drinking beer, I started drinking Guinness. Right, that was it. So I've always
I'm just
been
imagining you
fan.
with like you as a baby with your beard and your hat and your glasses and just Guinness.
Yeah. No, I used to say I like to do it right and start with the good stuff and skip the natty light and all that most people do in high school. But I went to my not my fair share, but a few high school parties where we had the obligatory natty light or Milwaukee's Best Light, whatever was easy to steal from the convenience store.
Yeah. Yep. No, not that we would condone that either. No, my beer was always we would always have somebody buy us beer when I was like 17, 18, and the guy, he always said, if I'm going to buy you beer, I'm going to buy you the worst beer just because I'm an asshole. He literally would say that. So he would get us the Beast. He'd get us Natty Light. And, sometimes he'd be nice and get us Bud Light. And it was like, okay, beer's okay. This isn't bad, whatever. And then I turned 21 and I had people that were like, you've never had good beer. And they took me, I think it was to ITAP. I think that was when it was open then. And they had me try all these different, I didn't even know there was different kinds, that there was ales and there was pilsners and I just thought it was, it's just these beer come in cans and there's one type of beer. And so it just completely turned my world around. And again, that's when I turned into, as some listeners would say, a beer snob, because I was like, oh my God, beer is actually good. Beer tastes good. I didn't know it could do that. I thought it was just to get me messed up.
Yeah, it's amazing when you do it for more than just getting wasted on the weekend. It's beer actually is pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. My wife makes fun of me because I'll just crack open a beer and it'll be like a Tuesday night for dinner or whatever. And what do you get a drink tonight? And I'm like, well, I'm going to have a beer, because she's the type that when she drinks one, she has to drink 4 or 5 or 6. And so I'm like, no, I just like drinking beer. If it tastes good, I'll drink it. It's that's how I am.
Yeah.
Speaking, go ahead.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Go ahead.
Speaking of good beer, tonight I'll be drinking the Love Gun, which is one I've had recently from our friends at Heavy Riff Brewery, I believe in Clayton. This is I've talked about it before. I know Kurt, and I think you too, Bill, has mentioned on the show before. Yeah. So good. Oh my God. So talking about people who don't drink, my brother-in-law, he's the type of guy that he'll just, go to the store, grab the first 30 pack he sees, and, he'll fill his fridge for a couple weekends. And so I had him come over and I was like, dude, you got to try this Love Gun. And he's like, oh, beer's beer to me. And I'm like, no, try the Love Gun. And he did. And he's like, he looked at me and he goes, this is beer? This has alcohol in it? And I'm like, yeah, it tastes like almost like a cream soda, but not really, because I don't really like cream soda that much. It's just, it's so flavorful. It's so good. So if you haven't had Heavy Riff Brewing Love Gun, it's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, no, the aftertaste of that is pure vanilla cream soda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the first time I had it, Julie actually ordered it for me, and she likes to say she's allergic to beer. She doesn't drink beer at all. But she was with some friends at a work colleagues at a function, and they were drinking it, and they were trying to figure out, what does this taste like? And going around the table, sharing it, and it took forever for them to figure out what it tasted like. And so she's like, I want to see if you can figure it out. And it took me a few minutes, but that's absolutely, it's vanilla cream soda.
Yep.
And it's great.
So good. So good. So let's move on to today in Blues history, courtesy of the @STL Blues History account on Twitter. If you don't follow him, you should. And if you want a little nugget, the episode 300th episode, when we all got pretty drunk, I did actually mention, I don't know if you remember, Bill, I did mention STL Blues History's first name, which I think is the first time that's ever happened. So instantly tried to stop myself, but was already too far gone at that point.
Thank the Four Roses that night.
Yes, the Four Roses definitely put me in a different place. But it's okay. He said at this point it's fine. As long as I'm not giving out his address, which he is my neighbor, so I could literally give out his address if I wanted to. So July 1st, 2011. And I was thinking about this, Bill, not to get too off track before we get into this. I don't know if we've ever had a show on July 1st. So looking at today in Blues history, obviously this is usually free agent day. So there's actually some pretty interesting stuff here. Usually in off-season shows, it's kind of scarce in this segment. But first one that I'll mention, July 1st, 2011, St. Louis Blues signed free agent goalie Brian Elliott to a 2-year, 2-way contract. Expected him to start in Peoria. Lo and behold, arguably, but I know Kurt would say not arguably, the greatest goalie in Blues history. And originally signed to a 2-way contract.
Yeah, statistically, he put up some amazing numbers, and that was the crazy thing. He got broke into the league in Ottawa, then went to Colorado, and we signed him. Took a flyer on him with that 2-way contract. Halak was supposed to be our guy. Bish was in the system, and Moose came on, and man, we both have Moose jerseys.
Yeah, we do.
That's quite the testament, for us. I guess. But yeah, what a career he had. I hated to see the way that it ended. Just with Army refusing to say yes, you're the number one, and dealing him to Calgary. But man, what a great stretch he had here. Absolutely, yeah, just felt so bad for him when we couldn't get past San Jose in 16. I thought that was the year, and I thought he was going to be the guy to do it.
I did too. We've talked about him on the show, and you mentioned getting his jersey. I still remember that it was the day before one of my friends' weddings, and my friend was getting married during the first round of the draft, the year he was traded, 2016. And I remember I was sitting there at night, late at night, and I was like, I need to get another Blues jersey. It's been about a year. I literally put the Brian Elliott jersey in my cart, and I was like, I'm going to buy a Brian Elliott jersey. And then I stopped myself and I go, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait until after the draft, because there's a chance maybe he gets moved. Then he gets moved, and I think I've told the story before that I was at the wedding. My friend, actually Crappy Goalie, came up to me, and I was standing at the bar, and he's like, you're going to want to order a couple drinks. And I go, why? And he goes, Brian Elliott just got traded. And I'm like, no! And I went home that night, and I said, fuck it. I still love Brian Elliott. I'm still going to get his jersey. So I went ahead and bought it anyway. But yeah, it was, and it's funny because in hindsight, obviously I had some drinks at that wedding. I'm like, I probably should have waited a week. I probably could have gotten one discounted somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, just gone down to Enterprise and gotten it. Yeah,
Yep.
I got mine delivered. Like I ordered it at the beginning of the playoffs, and because it was less than reputable where I bought it from, it showed up literally the day before the game we got knocked out.
Oh,
So
man,
I
that sucks.
had it one game while he was here, but
So
I've
you had
worn
it
many,
one.
many times.
You had it one. I
Yeah.
had it 0.
Yeah. So
That's good.
We're a little late to the bandwagon, I
A
guess.
little bit. So July 1st, 2000. Oh, I should have put this one first. 2007. Paul Correa signed as a free agent by the St. Louis Blues. I think we all remember that. That was Kurt said it on this show before. Probably the biggest signing the Blues have ever made at the time, especially. But really, at the end of Correa's career, but still not a bad sign. I think at the time it made us all excited after that terrible stretch the Blues had there in 2006.
Yeah, he was kind of that first green shoot signing that the Blues had. It was like, hey, they're trying to do something now. And it's so much excitement. That was the season that we opened against the Wings in Stockholm.
Yep.
And and Kurt and I have talked about that, going to watch that. And he had an instant impact. I think 2 or 3 goals in those 2 games. And it was such a breath of fresh air for the Blues to actually bring in talent after, having shed all the talent 2 years prior.
Yep. July 1st, 2008, so the next year, Vancouver Canucks signed David Backes to an offer sheet, and the Blues immediately matched. Blues retaliated with an offer sheet for Steve Bernier, and Vancouver would match that one as well, which is funny looking back now because obviously David Backes had a pretty decent career. Steve Bernier did not.
Yeah, he had one decent season in Vancouver, and I think he had a cup of coffee with Florida. But bounced around the minors mostly. So, that was that retaliatory signing was like, that seemed to be kind of the end of the offer sheet era.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, you haven't seen a lot. I mean, Montreal tried with Sebastian Aho 2 years ago, and
Shea Weber with Philadelphia, but I don't know if that was before 2008 or not.
Yeah, I
remember that was a big one because they tried to front load the contract to where Nashville wouldn't be able to match, and Nashville had to pay a lot of money up front on that deal.
Yeah.
July 1st, 2010, Doug Armstrong takes over as the GM from Larry Plow. Alexander Steen also signs a 4-year contract. Vladimir Sobotka signs a 1-year contract. And Dave Taylor named Director of Player Personnel. So a lot of pieces there. I know we joke about Vladimir Sobotka, but a lot of pieces there for the Stanley Cup team. Doug Armstrong taking over. Alexander Steen signing his first, I think that was his first extension with the Blues. And then Sobotka obviously being a big part of the Ryan O'Reilly trade. Spoiler alert, he will come up later. Interesting.
Very busy this day in Blues history.
Yes. July 1st, 2014, St. Louis Blues signed free agent Paul Stastny to a 4-year contract. If you're interested in seeing something pretty cool, a fun little video, STL Blues history included the video the Blues put together when they announced the signing. So if you want to check out his post on that, pretty fun stuff. July 1st, 2016, the Blues signed for this was his second stint, David Perron, and they also signed Carter Hutton as free agents. David Backes and Troy Brouwer both left the Blues as free agents. And the aforementioned Brian Elliott had already been traded a couple days before that. So clearly the Blues are going a different direction than a couple of the guys that got them to the Western Final that season. But I remember being very pissed off on that on July 1st, 2016, because one, I was like, David Perron didn't work the first time. Why are you bringing him back? And two, Carter Hutton, I was not a fan of that signing. I thought this guy is an AHL goalie at best. You need somebody who's going to actually battle Jake Allen for that number 1 spot. Little did I know that Carter Hutton would turn out to be a pretty damn good signing for the Blues. And I will eat crow on that. I will gladly eat crow because he had a great career here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely earned the contract that he got from Buffalo after he left here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can make the argument that he didn't so much overtake Jake Allen as Jake Allen played himself out of a job.
Yeah.
But the numbers that Hutton put up, just, I mean, so impressive for that guy that we didn't have a lot of faith in. He really was kind of the redeeming factor, for that unfortunate, January to March period where Jake Allen forgot how to hockey.
Yes.
And that used to be my favorite joke on this show.
Yep. Well, you'll be able to make that again when he's playing for Seattle. Spoiler alert.
True.
July 1st, 2016, same day, David Backes. Again, he had just left the Blues. He was on Fox Sports Midwest. I think he was at the Cardinal game after he signed with Boston. Mentions that if not the Bruins winning the Cup, he hopes the new Blues captain gets to have a parade down Market Street. He says it's a great town waiting for 50 years. And he says as long as it's not against Boston. And if you're interested in seeing that interview, STL Blues History did post that with this post. So go check that out. But I actually do not remember this. So when I saw that he said, yeah, St. Louis is a great town, waiting for 50 years for a cup. As long as it's not against Boston, I hope they win a cup. Yeah. Take that one, David Backes. July 1st, 2018, and these are big ones here, folks. So St. Louis Blues signed free agents, and this was the third stint for David Perron. And they also signed Tyler Bozak. And again, I've told this story on the show. That morning, late morning, early afternoon, I had a hockey game. It was a Sunday, and I remember we were talking in the locker room. What the fuck are the Blues doing? They're bringing back Perron again. They signed Tyler Bozak for $4 million. This is their big offseason. They're not going to make the playoffs next year. They're going to be awful. Well, then that evening, July 1st, 2018, Ryan O'Reilly comes to the St. Louis Blues. They send Vladimir Sobotka, Patrick Berglund, Tage Thompson, a 2019 first-round pick, and a 2021 second-round pick. And by the way, that 2019 first-round pick turned out to be the last pick of the draft because the Blues won the Cup that year. And they picked defenseman Ryan Johnson. No, not him. Another Ryan Johnson. So that's your Today in Blues history. But that is definitely... We've talked about on the show, that's got to be a legacy trade for Doug Armstrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly goes on to win. I mean, I still go back to that picture of him with the cup, the Campbell, right? Is that the Western Conference one? Yeah, the Campbell.
Yeah.
The Selke and the Conn Smythe, and that was a year after he was basically mentioned as a cancer in the locker room for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. So many tweets today memorializing the trade, and was the Cam and Strick podcast had one of my favorites with a story and two pictures. And the one was, O'Reilly slinking off the ice after a Buffalo loss. And the other was him raising the cup above his head.
Oh,
and that says it right there.
Beautiful stuff.
And I think we probably should be obliged to include in that trade. Not only, did we send them Berglund and Sobotka and Thompson and the picks, but also eternal angst.
Yep.
That's the the unspoken part, but man, it's debatable, which were the, I think the O'Reilly trade trumps because he did win the Conn Smythe. But the two big trades that put the Blues over the top for the Cup were O'Reilly and then Shen for Laterra. I mean,
And
those are
2 steals.
Those are the trades, right? Those are the trades that really made this team the competitive team that it was to put us over the top, to get us to the cup and then to win it. So
after those trades, I said, and I still stand by this, that I think you could look at building this team around your center depth rather than Schwartz and Tarasenko. I said it then, and I still believe that. Clearly now, because there's some talk we're going to have here coming up after our commercial break about Vladimir Tarasenko. And then, of course, we've already talked in exhaustion about how Jaden Schwartz's time as a Blue might be over. So that might be happening. And I think that that's the right call. Those two have been very important to the Blues' depth and very important key cogs in the Blues being a Stanley Cup winner and still a Stanley Cup contender. We will be back to talk about a recent NHL announcement that Blues fans will definitely care about, as well as speculation involving the Blues' roster heading into next season in just a moment. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Put that energy drink down. Don't you know that common energy drinks contain high levels of caffeine and other harmful ingredients that can lead to increased blood pressure and heart rhythm disturbances? Finding that energy you need for everyday activities doesn't need to put your health at risk. ID Life's energy formula doesn't use artificial ingredients or a massive dose of caffeine. Energy's caffeine levels are released slowly over time, allowing for longer periods of energy without crash, not to mention keeping your heart safe. Energy also includes neurotransmitters for mood, focus, memory, and cognitive function. ID Life also added antioxidants associated with brain health for no reason besides perfection. With RockinThatIDLife.com, you can get an energy boost and leave the heart risk behind. Text Dustin at 636-393-8745 or visit RockinThatIDLife.com and throw those gas station energy drinks in the garbage. That's 636-393-8745 and RockinThatIDLife.com and tell Dustin that Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. You know, Bill, I'd be remiss to tell you, I should have mentioned this at the top of the show. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Is this the day that Bobby Bonilla got injured and
No.
Albert Pujols or?
No, this is the day that he gets $1 million, July 1st until the year 2035, because of a deal he signed with the Mets, I believe in the 90s. And correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. A little over $1 million every year on July 1st until 2035. So happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Is there a Rick DiPietro Day?
Today is the day.
Yeah,
that's
the day
I think it's till
too.
20.
Yeah.
I think for him it's 2029.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw. I don't think we have it in the outline, but the roster that ESPN put out for its hockey coverage.
Oh, I did not put that in there.
Yeah, I didn't think about it until just now, but Ricky's in there.
Yeah,
he's going to be there.
Have you heard
Chelios,
him?
I have not.
I think he's great. I've heard him do commentary, kind of like friend of the show Mike McKenna's done, and he's informative. He's funny. He's witty, and obviously he knows the game. So I was really excited when I saw that they're bringing in Rick DiPietro. I think that's a great pickup for them.
Yeah,
I actually like it more than a lot of the other guys they brought in. Not saying that Gretzky, Messier, Chelios, those guys won't be great, but I just feel like they don't have a lot of experience, and so they're getting a lot of the hype, which, deservedly so. They had great NHL careers, but I've never really heard them really talk about the game a ton. Rick DiPietro I have, so I'm actually really excited to see what he brings to ESPN.
Yeah, and DiPietro, the other one that I'm excited about, more so than like you said, Gretzky, Messier, and Chelios, Cassie Campbell-Pascal.
She's great.
She's awesome.
She's great.
I love her on Hockey Night in Canada.
I couldn't believe they snagged her.
I know. It's big coup. Ray Ferraro. That's another big one, and Kevin Weeks. I'm a big fan of Kevin Weeks on NHL Tonight. So impressive little roster they've built there at the worldwide leader.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical when I heard Gretzky and Messier. Those were the first two big ones they mentioned, and I'm like, again, maybe they will bring something that I will be blown away by. But I just feel like, okay, they're names, and I get you want names, like, you know, and I'm sure when Charles Barkley was brought in for the NBA, I'm sure people were like, I don't know, he's a name, but he's actually turned out to be a very fun commentator, does a very good job. Maybe Gretzky and Messier will be the same with Chelios. But again, I'm a little nervous about it. I feel like it's just the name recognition. But then, like you said, some of the other names we've seen brought in since then, Ray Ferraro, friend of the show, by the way, Ray Ferraro. All these names that we've seen since have been great commentators, and I'm really looking forward to the coverage they bring.
Yeah, super cool. I think for all of us that grew up with the original NHL Tonight, to have Chicken Parm, going to be able to, you know, have some studio time with John Buccigross. That's going to be awesome.
Bill, I don't know if you saw one of the recent posts that I've had on YouTube. And for those that don't know, I post a lot of old NHL games on YouTube. Bill supplied me with a collection of his old VHS tapes. And one of those, it was the NHL Tonight after the Blues beat the Coyotes in the 1999 Western quarterfinal when they came back from 3-1. And that was one of the first times Ferraro was on. So that was because he was still playing at the time. So it was really cool, like seeing Ferraro as like a young, like up and coming broadcaster. And I'm like, man, I remember seeing him then and thinking, oh man, he's going to be good when he retires. And I still to this day think he's one of the best.
Yeah. And voice of the NHL franchise right now, right? So the color,
yeah, he is still in there.
Color commentator. Yeah.
Yep. Him and I'm forgetting the other guy's name, but there's they brought in somebody else. They replaced Mike Emmerich, but it's he's great in that game too. If you haven't listened, folks, I had him on last summer sometime, and he had a lot of great commentary about how he records the voiceovers for games. It's literally like, okay, they'll tell him like puck's dumped into the corner, home team's leading by 1, you know, and it's like, go. And it's just, okay. And like a lot of it's scripted, but a lot of it's like off the cuff, come up with something. And it's crazy how those guys have to work with that, but they make it work. It sounds great.
Yeah, no, he's been one of my favorites. Back in the day, it was always Jim Houston and Daryl Ray. That was the combo that I loved. I think 2003, 2004 was when they were the voice. But I couldn't take it much when it was Emmerich and Eddie O.
So let's get into some Blues talk here, folks. The Blues will face off against the Minnesota Wild in the 2022 Winter Classic at Target Field in Minnesota. Wait a minute, Bill. Hang on. I think I'm having deja vu. Haven't we talked about this before?
Yeah. And then there was this whole pandemic thing.
Oh yeah, we lost a whole year because of that.
Yeah. It's Groundhog Year. It's not Groundhog Day.
Right. Yes, folks, this was rescheduled from 2021. As Bill said, they did not play because of COVID-19. Target Field is the home of the Twins. This announcement was made by Gary Bettman during his annual State of the League address ahead of the Stanley Cup Final. League also announced Stadium Series game between the Lightning and Predators, who were division rivals this year, on February 22nd at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. I think I didn't look it up, but I believe that's the home of the Titans.
It is.
NFL.
It is.
Yeah. So, but again, we've talked about this already on the show because this happened a year ago. But we're very excited though, or actually, I guess over a year ago that they announced it. But excited to see the Blues as the away team in Minnesota against some hockey mad fans.
Yeah, and let's hope they do the right thing and put the North Stars jerseys on the Wild and have the Blues that the late 80s, early 90s royal blue with just a very slight touch of red, not the clown jersey red.
And I've seen people say, like, I hope the Winter Classic jersey is one of these two, and it's the one with blues across the chest, which was an awful jersey.
The Harry Warnest one.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it, but yeah, it's not a good jersey. Or the originals, and I'm like, what about the early '90s jerseys? That's what I want to see. I think that'd be awesome. But I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about that. I think that would be the best one to use. That's a great jersey. Yeah, and maybe it's just me because that's the jersey I grew up watching, but
no,
that's a great jersey.
Right. Kurtz talked about that. That's the first jersey he ever owned. That's the first jersey he remembers, when he started, becoming a diehard hockey fan. That to me, that was, that's the Brett Hull era. That is when hockey, recommitted to St. Louis and is never going away from this town. Because prior to that, the jerseys were the Harry Warnest jerseys, and they almost left under him. So
that's and that's another thing that just grinds my gears, and it probably shouldn't. When I see people say the clown jersey are the Brett Hull era jerseys, no, those were not the Brett Hull era. That was the
Brett Hull.
That was the end of the Brett Hull. If you want to call those the Wayne Gretzky era, fine, but no, his career was spent in that jersey. And if all of the highlights of Brett Hull of his career, except his milestones, I think his 500th was scored in that jersey. Other than that, every other accolade he had came in the other jersey.
Yeah, 86 goals, other jersey.
Yep, for sure. So anyway, that's the one I want to see. But yeah, excited about Winter Classic. Glad the Blues are. I'm excited to see the Winter Classic alumni game roster. This obviously the first one the Blues had was stacked. Every player who's ever played for the organization wanted to play. So it'll be interesting to see who wants to travel to Minnesota to play for the Blues in that. But I think the Blues will still have a pretty good turnout.
Yeah. I'm hoping that the Minnesota side of it is going to be, a lot of North Stars. Give me Kerry Taco. Give me Don Beaupre. Give me John Casey.
What about Mike Modano? You think he'd make an appearance?
I think that's he's got to be the centerpiece of it.
Yeah.
Right. And who's going to broadcast it? Is it going to be an ESPN game or is it going to be a Turner game?
I believe that's a Turner game, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, because you would think that if ESPN had it, there's no way Modano's not showing up, especially if Gretz and Messier are going to be there. But yeah, I mean, you think he'd have to be a centerpiece to that kind of event. So. And January 1st, Minnesota, expect that it's going to be super, super cold, probably snowing like crazy. But I think this is one I'm gonna try to make the trek for.
Oh, nice! That'd be awesome. Yeah. I'll admit that is something that's in the back of my mind, and the wife and I are talking about next trip we're going to take together. I think I might be pitching this, so we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you updated, Let's Go Blues Radio listeners, because I definitely want to try that too. So that'd be awesome. Average high in Minnesota in January over the whole month is 20 degrees. So that's the high. So we'll see what it's going to be on January 1st. Reports have surfaced that Vladimir Tarasenko would be willing to waive his no-trade clause. Listeners of the show know that shoulder surgeries have derailed his career a bit. He has 2 years left on his 8-year, $60 million contract signed in 2015. Right now, he holds a cap hit of $7.5 million, receives $9.5 million in actual salary this upcoming season. But his final year of his deal, he only makes $5.5 million. He was limited to just 10 games in 2019-2020 and 24 games in 2020-2021. We've talked about it on this show. Very disappointing coming back, which was somewhat to be expected. 4 goals, 10 assists in 24 games played last year. A no-show in the playoffs until Game 4 when he tallied 2 big ones, but kind of too little too late at that point. This came from everything I saw. It was coming from STL ESPN, so I'm guessing that means 101.1. But I never actually saw them say anything. It was other people tweeting about it. So anyway, but yeah, this was broadcast all over. Bill, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm not surprised by the speculation. Haven't, like you said, I haven't seen any official sources talking about it. Haven't heard any comments, from Doug Armstrong. Not that I get to spend a lot of time, perusing Twitter and the normal places where you can catch wind of that kind of stuff a lot lately. Just like you said, given his career has gotten off track because of the shoulder surgeries, I don't think it's the right time to try to explore a trade. You definitely be selling low. Somebody might take a flyer on him, but the return's probably not going to be great. I think, unless you're going to just, try to move him with the expansion draft or something. I think you probably, let him see how this year goes. And then next year that $5 million hit is going to be very attractive to a lot of teams. I think next year probably makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point too. As I look at that, he's making 9.5 this upcoming year. Who's going to pay over his cap hit, which is relatively high? I mean, it's market value for him, I think, at this point. But 7.5 cap hit, 9.5 in actual paid salary. You're going to have to sell low in order to do that. And I said earlier, one of these shows recently, that I'm okay with them moving Tarasenko if it's the right deal. I don't think you're going to get the right deal right now. I think you're right. Maybe next year, if he sparks and comes back and has even a 20, 30 goal season, maybe you're still looking to trade him then. And I get the idea that, like, okay, he just came back this season. Maybe he's still got something. He had a decent showing in the World Hockey Championships. So maybe somebody takes a flyer on him. But, if it's like a team is offering a 3rd round pick, a 2nd round pick for him, I'm saying no. I'd rather see what we got. But yeah, I mean, if it's something that, a package, we'll talk in a second about teams apparently he's interested in going to. But, if it's like Tarasenko and this for Matthew Kachuk, you consider that at the very least. But if it's more or less a salary dump and you're just getting nothing for him, see what he's got. Give him another year. Maybe he turns it around.
Yeah. And, the speculation could just be, stuff out there to make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know what's behind it, when speculation arises, and, there again, no official sources really talking about it. I think that, like I said, it's just money wise, you might find somebody to take them, but again, we talked about it before. Armstrong has not saying that Tarasenko is in any way like Yuri Lutera or Patrick Berglund or Vladimir Sapoka in terms of players that you want to jettison and hope to steal somebody else from. But if there's a GM in the league who can make a steal in a trade. Doug Armstrong's got a good track record. So
Yeah.
to your point, if it's the right deal, then do it. But I see him sticking around another year before anything happens.
So also in discussion with this, and this was tweeted by NHL News Updates originally, which I don't think is really anything. I think they just kind of pull information that they get. And they did quote STL ESPN in this one as well. It says Tarasenko has a no trade clause, but he's willing to waive it for these 4 teams: Carolina Hurricanes, New York Islanders, Vegas Golden Knights, and Boston Bruins. I somewhat question the validity here. I don't know. There's no real source given here, but those 4 teams are interesting. Carolina, you got any 4 of these teams, you can get anything great. I look at a team like Vegas and I say, okay, how they're like the new Toronto to me. They're involved in every player who's on the trade block. It's Vegas is going to get him. Vegas is going to, which they to this point kind of have actually gotten those players. But I'm like, at some point, they just don't have the cap room to do it. And I would understand Tarasenko maybe wanting to go play with Petro again, but
right.
I don't see Vegas really truly being on the table, because they would have to move one of their other high-priced guys who are kind of a commodity. You know what you're getting out of those guys. Tarasenko at this point in his career, I think you're still like, maybe he can turn into what he used to be. Maybe. So I just don't see a team like Vegas with Stanley Cup aspirations taking a flyer on a guy with a $7.5 million cap hit.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas, I think this offseason, Vegas, they've got to take a hard look and see that, that it maybe it's not the moves that put you over the top. Maybe you need to let some chemistry to develop, but that's the Bruins is kind of the bigger head scratcher to me, because their defense is, that's where they really need to focus. And I don't know why, a player that wants to be offense first would look to go to a team that's, really relies on a lot of its offensive players to have to be defensive minded. Obviously they've got a couple of great guys in that respect in Bergeron and Krejci. But I don't know. That just, it's interesting speculation to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about this because we don't know. And I think I look at New York Islanders and I say that's an interesting one, because they're a very defensive-minded team, and they're, run by Barry Trotz, and maybe Tarasenko's friends with Ovechkin, so maybe Ovechkin had only nice things to say about Trotz. But I look at the New York Islanders and I say, and maybe Tarasenko's saying, okay, I'm not the scoring winger I used to be. I need to learn a good defensive system to stay in the NHL. Maybe that's where that comes from, but I just don't see a team like the Islanders, of all 31 NHL teams, being a team he'd be interested in at this point. Clearly, Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz aren't going anywhere. So, he would have to completely change the type of game he plays to work in that system. And I don't know. I just question the validity here. I mentioned in the comments here in our shared document here, Bill, that, I look at like a team like, I could see the Rangers, who play a very offensive style game. They got a new coach, Gerard Gallant. He's friends with Artemi Panarin. Washington, which Ovechkin's still unsigned, but I think we all think that there's a good chance he goes back to the Capitals. That could be a team I could see him being interested in. But I don't know. I just look at that list. You mentioned the Bruins, the Islanders, the Knights, Hurricanes. Okay, it's just a very odd list for me to think that Tarasenko would pick those 4 teams. Yeah.
Yep. I agree completely. The only thing with the Islanders that may make sense, They out of all these teams, I think they've got the most Russian presence. Both of their goalies, Sorokin and Varlamov, are Russian. Got Komarov. I don't know that it. I guess at the end of the day, all of those are kind of head scratchers, trying to come up with a basis, like a logical basis of why would he go there. But interesting.
So we've got I told you, Bill, that I'm not going to watch the YouTube chat, but I actually have been. So let's go ahead and get some of these comments. AC Generator earlier in the show mentioned Ryan O'Reilly got an offer sheet from the Flames in 2013. That was a funny one, Bill. I don't know if you remember that. So he signed with Colorado after December 1st, and he was playing overseas. So who was the GM at the time? Jay Feaster. Jay Feaster with Calgary, I remember they gave him an offer sheet. Colorado matched it, but it came out afterward that if Calgary had signed him, he would have had to have gone through waivers.
Right?
What?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. He would have had to go through waivers.
He would have had to have gone through waivers. So they would have lost their draft picks. Like I think it was like their first, second, and third pick the next year. They would have lost all of those, and they likely would not have gotten O'Reilly because it would have gone through all the other 29 teams. So I remember that and just thinking, oh my God, that would have been a disaster. But that's one of those where it's like instant firing. See you, Jay Feaster. You're out. Let's see. Jason Miller. Do Buffalo fans still think they won the Ryan O'Reilly trade? I would hope not. Let's see. The early 90s jerseys were some of the best ever. Jason Miller, crappy goalie. I agree. Let's see. It sucks, but I would assume ESPN usually broadcasts college bowl games all day on New Year's Day. He's right, actually. So I think that is why TNT's picking it up.
Yeah, and that's my comment back to him. I have to say it on the air. Yeah, the NHL couldn't even get on the Ocho.
Yeah,
not
could
against
be.
the bowl game.
That's right. Could be ESPN 8. Let's see. Winning unlimited. Tampa can fit Tarasenko under the cap. Why not? Right? They seem to be able to do it with everyone else. Just don't have him play in the regular season and have him show up for game 1 of the playoffs.
Right.
Derek agrees with me there. He says, laugh out loud, just said Hedman for the regular season. Tampa can always fit more under the cap. Very true. So talking about, we're going to mention Tarasenko here probably in a little bit, but a little bit more, but going to talk about Matthew Kachuk, somebody who's been in the trade talks now for a couple weeks. We mentioned him on the show a couple times. Shane O'Brien of Sportsnet suggests that Kachuk may want out of Calgary. And Bill, let me ask you, I put these in the notes, but I want to ask you, a lot of people I've been seeing are, Kachuk wants to come home. He wants to come to St. Louis. He wants to be back where his family is. He wants to, he grew up a Blues fan. He wants to come back to St. Louis. I've never actually seen anything that suggests that. The only thing that I saw was Shane O'Brien, who originally reported this, saying that if the Blues are open to a trade for Kachuk, Tarasenko would probably have to be included to make the salary work. But he never, from what I saw, never actually said Kachuk wants to go to St. Louis. So have you seen that anywhere? Am I just missing something?
No, I think it's probably just fans' wishful thinking. Hometown boy, of course he wants to come here and win. Maybe there was
he's
something.
He's a hometown hero, baby.
Please. Maybe there was something during the All-Star, when he and Brady were in that weird shoot from the stands onto the ice thing. That maybe there was some speculation in an interview there, but would I love to see him come here? Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that is just, easy for fans to buy into. Whether or not there's any reality behind it, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I hope there is, and I hope that O'Brien's kind of, getting us ready for a possible Kachuk move here. But I think it's a lot of wishful thinking because he doesn't have a no trade clause. He doesn't have a no movement clause. He's still a young kid. He could go anywhere at this point. He could say, I won't resign in team A that you send me to, but Calgary can still say, we don't fucking care. This team wants to win a cup. They think you have a good chance. We're going to move you to Washington or wherever. So, Kachuk may want to come home, but I don't see that really being a factor in Calgary is going to get the best trade they can if they're going to move him. 23 years old, by the way, 16 goals, 27 assists last season. Thorn in the side of Drew Doughty. I think we all love that. He's in the final year of his 3-year, $21 million contract that he signed in 2019. $7 million cap hit, $9 million in actual salary. It's going to be paid this season. So, I'm with you. I would love to see Matthew Kachuk on this team. I think we've talked about, and Chris Kerber, I mentioned on the show that Kerber has said before, friend of the show, has said that he thinks the Blues need to upgrade on their first line left wing. Well, this is pretty much one of the biggest upgrades you can get. So if that were to happen, hell yes, you throw him out there with O'Reilly and Perron on your top line. That's pretty filthy. Probably some offensive zone penalties there if that happens.
I don't think you put them on your top line, or maybe O'Reilly and Perron become your second line, and your first line is going to be Robert Thomas, right? If Kachuk's playing, I mean, they were teammates in London, so it would make sense that they would be on the line together. That would be amazing. I mean, and who knows? Maybe Zach Sanford has a home as the right winger because he wouldn't have to do a whole lot. Kachuk cleans up in the corner, and Thomas can find anybody.
It's what you do with the fat guy on your men's league team, right? You just say, just go to the net. Just go to the net. Yeah. One of our other guys will get it to you. So that's what you tell Sanford. Just go to the net. Eventually the puck's going to get there. Just whack away at it when you see it. I would love it. And I don't know if I ever told this story on the show. I learned at a very early age. Well, I say very early age. I think it was 2000. So I would have been 15. Could be wrong on the year. I've never, since this year that I've just mentioned, I've never gone out and gotten a player's jersey right away. I did that with Tino Martinez because the Yankees were my girlfriend team in baseball. And I loved Tino Martinez. And then the Cardinals signed him. And I was like, oh my God, Tino Martinez is a Cardinal. I'm going to go get his jersey right fucking now. So I asked my dad, I'm like, you take me up to the store. I want to get a Tino Martinez jersey. He's like, yeah, sure. Let's go. For those who don't watch baseball or don't follow the Cardinals, he did not work out here. It was not a good relationship. He was gone pretty quickly, went back to the Yankees. He clearly didn't want to be here. He didn't want to leave New York. Just a bad situation. So yes, I still have a Tino Martinez jersey. I'm probably the one St. Louisan who still owns it. So I vowed then I will never do that again. But I will say, if Matthew Kachuk ends up as a St. Louis Blue, I might pull the trigger again. Might give it a shot. So
I think that would be a low risk bet.
Yeah. I think I'd have a better chance with that one than with Tino Martinez.
Yeah.
Another trade rumor going around that just came out today, actually. So, by the way, you mentioned Matthew Kachuk playing with Robert Thomas. Well, maybe he'll play with Jack Eichel in St. Louis. Speaking of Jack Eichel.
Yeah, he's not on the list for St. Louis.
No. But Sam Reinhart, who is a teammate of Jack Eichel's, he's been linked to the Blues today via the Fourth Period, which Fourth Period is a fine publication. I will never say anything negative about them. I've actually read a lot of stuff from them over the years, but I don't know how close they are to really having contacts in the NHL. So I know they have media members throughout the league, but I'm not going to pass this off as if it's Elliot Friedman or Darren Dreger, but still a reputable source. So Sam Reinhart, they listed today in their trade watch for 2021 offseason. I'll go ahead and read the quote they have here. There has been plenty of interest in Reinhart, who voiced his discontent with going through another rebuild in Buffalo. The return would be hefty for a player that scored 25 goals in a shortened season, and I can't read that word.
On the Buffalo Sabres.
Be on the Buffalo Sabres. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they list teams he's linked to, and they list Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Columbus, Anaheim, and St. Louis. So if you're looking for any information on this kid, if you don't know a lot, 25 years old, restricted free agent. His best season came in 2018-2019, 22 goals, 43 assists, 65 points in 82 games played. And for anybody who might, kind of be interested in what that means, that was the year Ryan O'Reilly came to the Blues and he got bumped up to the second line. So he responded well, put up some great points there. I think he played a lot with Tage Thompson, actually, unfortunately for him. And last season, as I mentioned, 25 goals, 15 assists, 40 points in 54 games. Again, he's an RFA right now, but his last contract, he is due for a huge up payment. His last contract was a 3-year, $10.725 million deal. That's it's a little under $900K for the cap hit, but he is due a large raise. So I wouldn't even consider that right now. Yeah, interesting. Sam Reinhart, could the Blues possibly pull off another blockbuster trade to get a decent center or left wing?
You got to be talking about salary going the other way, or salary going elsewhere and other things. You'd have to consider, which, I think we kind of consider at this point foregone conclusion. Schwartzy, Tarasenko not back. It's interesting. We talked about it earlier in the show. The key to the 2019 Blues was the center depth. And last year, the center depth, having Shen, having O'Reilly was great. But then when Sundqvist got injured, that it kind of eroded. Bozak didn't have the greatest year. It's intriguing. Adding a guy who could, who potted 25 goals in a shortened season. I mean, it's no 40 goals, but
he's no Mike Hoffman.
He's no Mike Hoffman. It is an intriguing thing. And, in terms of the, the credibility of the fourth period. So on this list, they have a top 30 list, and number 11 is Victor Arvidsson, traded today. And he was traded from Nashville to Los Angeles. Los Angeles was one of the teams that was listed. Could there have been some, post-trade editing that, happened
Maybe
here? Possibly. I don't know. I didn't look at it before, but hey, they got that one right. At least on this paper.
Speaking of that trade, did you see Philip Forsberg on Instagram, what he said? He just, after the trade was announced, he posted an emoji of a thumbs down.
Nice.
That's all it was. It was a giant picture of a thumbs down emoji. Go ahead. Forsberg to me is a guy that has seemed discontented with
Nashville's poor showings the last couple of years. Wouldn't be surprised if that's a guy that's not pushing for a trade soon.
Yeah, could be possible. Now, I just want to say, let's just say everything we've talked about tonight happens. Tarasenko's gone. Kachuk comes in. Reinhart comes in. You know, I think at that point you're talking to Braden Shen and you're telling him, we need you on wing. We're going to throw you on right wing, second line, first line. You have Sam Reinhart as your center. So you got O'Reilly and Reinhart as your two top centers. You've got Shen on the wing, on a right wing. You've got Kachuk playing left wing. You mentioned Robert Thomas, if he's not moved. Another potential left wing / center. I mean, we talked about at the end of the season, at least Kurt and I did, that this team's going to retool. There's going to have to be some big moves. The offseason is going to be very interesting. Again, let's just say all these things we talked about on this show happens. I think this team's better, depending on what they give up. But if they go out and Armstrong pulls the trigger on a lot of moves like these that we've talked about, holy shit. This team's Stanley Cup window is still completely wide open.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add too that I already like this team healthy. I think Bozak, if he's re-signed, which I don't think he will be, he has a healthy year. If Schwartz is brought back and he's healthy, I still think this team can compete. But retooling and getting some of these guys that have been in the trade talks, look out. If the Blues do pull off these moves, holy cow.
Yeah, it's the most exciting time of summer is when free agency opens up and the transactions are occurring. It's crazy that we're going to be watching Stanley Cup Finals still after the 4th of July. I mean, obviously, last year was much later because of the bubble, but it's still crazy. We're talking July 3rd. We're going to center ice to watch the Canadiens and the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah. And again, for those of you who are who maybe have tuned in late or whatever, we are going to be going. Well, I will at least be going to center ice tomorrow with a couple people. I know Crappy Goalie's going to be there. And hopefully Bill will be joining us if he doesn't have dog problems. Looks like he's passed out behind you there, by the way. Good. He needs his rest. Good.
Yes, he does. Mouth wide open. It's a great look.
So we are going to continue talking about some Stanley Cup Final discussion right after this message from our friends at Center Ice Brewery.
Center Ice Brewery is St. Louis's only hockey-themed brewhouse. Stop on in during the next game to experience the ultimate hockey fan brewery while sampling various hockey-inspired beers, such as Old Arena Lager, the Beauty IPA, the Rotating Pale Ale Series, or seasonal offerings such as their Imperial Stout, their Lime Sherbet Sour, and much more. While you're there enjoying any number of their fantastic beverages, you can admire the bar top and tables made of authentic arena wood and the actual penalty box door from the old barn. Located at 3126 Olive Street in Midtown St. Louis, it's one of the best places to watch a Blues game, or any game. Visit centericebrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or make a reservation in the tap room. Center Ice Brewery. Let's go Blues. Please drink responsibly.
God, I
guess we should have. Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I guess we should have pointed out that he's on assignment tonight. He's in the front line of the COVID battle tonight. He's really testing to see if the Johnson & Johnson shot works. Going down to the epicenter of it all, the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, Kurt's at the Ozarks with his family this weekend, so hope he's having fun. I know you're listening. I'm going to go ahead and call this right now, Bill. We're going to get a message on Sunday that says, "Hey, I'm listening to the show on my drive home. You guys did a great job." So, Kurt, if you haven't sent that message yet, go ahead and send it because I know you want to. So get to a couple live chat comments here. Race Fan Rocks 4, friend of the show that we've mentioned before. I think I've probably mentioned this before. I know for a fact he's the biggest Eric Brewer fan out there, which is why his name ends with 4. He's talking about Matthew Kachuk. He renewed the Battle of Alberta, and that is definitely true. And he also mentioned Zach Cassian. And those two have made the Battle of Alberta a lot of fun to watch, for sure. Winning Unlimited, who's our friend Adam Gold, who, Adam, again, we haven't talked to you yet, but I'm sure we'd love to have you on this offseason if you're interested. He says Kachuk, Thomas, and Hoffman 40. So he's calling it now. If that's a line, is he saying all 3 of those guys get 40 goals, or one of them gets 40, or all 3 combined get 40? I'm not really sure.
Kurt's listening now.
Yeah, message from Kurt says he's listening now. Well, Kurt, what do you think of the show so far?
Yeah. And when did they get the internet down there?
Winning Unlimited also had Shen O'Reilly Perron ? So I'm thinking he's thinking that might be a line. I don't know. That could work. He says Kurt says literally just tuned in. So wow, good timing, Kurt. And then let's see. Derek says I'd like Alexiak as the one ad. Probably would have to let Schwartz and Hoffman walk. I could see Shen giving us a thumbs down if we trade Tarasenko. Yeah, that's possible. That could be. It's funny because I think about NHL 21, and whenever you trade a marquee player, you get like a bunch of messages from players that are just like, "I'm unhappy with the fact that you just traded Jaden Schwartz," and I'm just like, "Fuck off! I don't care. I'm the GM. Suck it. What are you gonna do about it? Go out and score some goals."
Yeah, and I'm sure that's exactly what Doug Armstrong says.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
You're unhappy? You're unhappy? Okay. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, remember that next time you take the rink. Be unhappy on the rink. Let's see. AC Generator says Tarasenko to Seattle and let them poach other teams for us. Race Fan Rocks 4, big Eric Brewer fan. Vegas is becoming the new Washington Capitals. They kind of are, but and that's the thing that drives me crazy. I saw somebody tweet a couple days ago how hard it is to be a Vegas Golden Knights fan. And it was probably slightly in jest, but I'm just like, come on. You know, like that's why I was rooting against Vegas, not because of Petro. I love Pietrangelo. He's one of my favorite all-time players. But you can't win yet, Vegas. You got to suffer like the rest of us have had to. You know, maybe not as long as Blues fans have had to, but Capitals fans went through a long time. Look at Canucks fans, Sabres fans. You have to suffer. So shut the fuck up. You know, all you older Golden Knights fans, I'm sorry. I hope you never see a Stanley Cup. But all you younger ones, I hope you're at least my age before you see a cup win in Vegas.
Yeah, I will say that was one of my favorite Twitter. I don't think it was a meme, but saw a few messages about Vegas is finally an NHL franchise because they saw a guy they traded bite them in the ass in the playoffs with Nick Suzuki, and a couple of other things like that. But yeah, I know a few people who got on the Vegas bandwagon right away, and it would feel completely unnatural, especially for us Blues fans who waited, our entire lives, and not just 3 years to see a cup win.
Yep.
You can't, I think it goes to show that you can't just go out and spend to get a cup. It's never worked. Maybe some of those Red Wings teams and some of those Blackhawks teams did, but as a tried and true thing, recipe for success in the NHL, it doesn't work. You have to have team chemistry. You have to have a lot more than just buying the right pieces, bringing in the right pieces. You have to grow organically.
This isn't baseball. This isn't New York Yankees. You can't just expect bats to come through. You got to, got to have some team chemistry. I think Kurt's Captain American. I'm trying to make this a verb. Captain America-ing us right now. He says language. He says my mom is listening. She flinched at the cussing. Language. For those of you who saw Age of Ultron. That was a joke in that movie, but yeah, sorry. You said Marla is her name?
Yes.
Sorry, Marla. We love you, Marla. Your son never cusses on the show, by the way. It's just the two of us.
Yeah.
It's totally just Bill and Jeff. But yeah, I didn't have to edit the open of the podcasted show because Kurt didn't say you can't fucking trade Alex Steen. He never said that. That's a lie. Yeah, never. Getting into some Stanley Cup Final discussion. For those of you who are interested, I know Bill. For those that may not know, Bill is a pretty big Montreal Canadiens fan, as we talked about in the Open. I've been rooting for Montreal. I would love to see Pat Maroon win 3 in a row, but Montreal, man, Canada needs a cup. Canada, I'm always going to root for a Canadian team as long as the Blues aren't in it. So I'm rooting for Montreal all the way. Plus, Joel Edmondson, Cole Caulfield has quickly become one of my favorite players to watch. He's so much fun.
Oh my God.
It's unbelievable. He's got all the moves, man. He's sick.
Yeah, spark plug, man. I mean, the guy, just how effortlessly he can take one stride and be at top speed. Right, there are so few players in the league that can do that, and God, he is amazing to watch. Just so much fun. That's a guy, and he's got a good low number. That could be a guy, if you want to buy a jersey, the guy that's going to be around that team for a while. That's a good one to go in on early.
I'm going to make a prediction here, Bill, and say that's your next jersey.
It's a possibility. That whole line, I could totally go for maybe not the Toffoli, but Suzuki's got to be right up there for my next jersey. So, but
he's a hell of a player too.
Yeah,
in hindsight, I don't think I make that trade with what Suzuki's turned into. Pacioretty's been fine in Vegas, but man, Suzuki looks damn good.
And he's 21. I mean,
yeah.
Jesus, he looks Patrice Bergeron like good as far as poise with the puck, and positioning and back checking. I mean, just stay healthy, man. He is going to be the next great leader of that team.
I hope you're right. Again, Stanley Cup Final, 2-0 series lead for Tampa at this moment, but it is going back to Montreal, as I said, tomorrow night against, on July 2nd at 7:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time on NBC. I think it's on NBC.
The rest of the series is now on NBC.
NBC is so checked out, by the way, and not to get off on a completely different tangent here, but I went on NBC's site and I looked up the schedule. They literally have hockey and anything hockey related. It's mixed in with whatever else they're covering on USA and NBC and Olympics. I'm I can't tell if this game's on NBC, NBC Sports Network, USA, but I just assumed with it being game 3, it's probably on NBC. So thank you for clarifying. But Yeah, and 2-0 lead for Tampa. Lots to that we could really get into. We could have a 3-hour discussion of this series so far, but the big thing that and it's against Montreal, unfortunately, one of the best goals I've ever seen was last night. Blake Coleman's, that was ridiculous. That buzzer beater goal at the end of the second period. Holy shit, what an effort.
Yeah. And, from a timeliness perspective, giving up a goal with 0.3 seconds to go, and it's in just a game that had been so tight, but Montreal was dominating. It was a backbreaker.
Yeah.
And
that was a game where it was just Montreal's got this. Like you, I don't know about you, but like me as like a kind of a neutral party, but still kind of rooting for a team. I looked at that game before that goal and I'm like, Montreal's got this. They are dominating this game. Vasilevsky eventually is going to give up, maybe not a weak one, but one that maybe he could stop. You just keep putting the puck on the net. You keep the pressure in the offensive zone. They're going to score. And then Coleman does that shit right at the end of the period. It was just one of those, you mentioned backbreaker. For me, it was like I dipped my head so far back, I thought I was going to break my back. It was,
Yep. I did the same thing and turned to Julie and said, yeah, this one's over. Yeah, it's a killer.
So what do you think of the series so far? What's been the story for you?
Last night was definitely Vasilevsky. I think he's, Montreal. I wasn't surprised. I didn't expect much in game one. The 5-1 score, I think a little out of hand, but I wasn't downhearted too much after that. But after last night's game with Montreal putting up 40 plus shots and getting one goal, that's all we got is one goddamn goal. It was just too much. Too much Vasilevsky. All the hopes are now pinned on tomorrow night. Like I said at the beginning of the show, Dominic Ducharme's back. They're going back, first Stanley Cup Final game in Montreal since 1993. It's even though they're stupidly only going to have 3,500 fans in the building, it's going to be an atmosphere. And hopefully those old ghosts of the Forum can find their way into the Bell Center, because it is. Has any other city besides, any other hockey mad city? I mean, St. Louis is a great hockey town, don't get me wrong, but has any other hockey mad city where, they have burned the city down over hockey games? Have they waited this long? I mean, obviously we don't ever think Toronto, at least not. I don't think Toronto will ever make it back to the Cup Final in my lifetime, just because they seem doomed not to. But it is going to be such a great atmosphere. And hopefully something will change. The Quebec Health Authority and Canadian, national government will do something to change this idea, and let at least 10,000 in, if not full capacity. Because what are you doing? You're forcing the people out into the streets anyway, where you don't have a chance to do any kind of crowd control.
Yep.
Not that if you let 21,000 people in, there'd be any less crowded outside Montreal, but just a head scratcher of a thing that they're not going to let more people into the building.
Bill, I'm going to put you on the spot here and make you finish the quote. So it's we had one hit, we had one goddamn hit, and then. You can't say goddamn on the air.
Nobody's listening to us anyway.
There you go. Major League fans, by the way. What's crazy to me is that again, tangent I'm going to go off on here. My father-in-law and like my whole wife's side of the family, they love League of Their Own, which is a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I love it. One of my favorite movies as well. But then I'll mention like a quote from Major League and they all just kind of look at me puzzled. And I'm like, how do you love League of Their Own, but you've never seen Major League? How does that make sense? For those of you who've never seen it, Major League, to me, is one of the top 5 sports movies of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. My 2 favorite baseball movies. I will confess on this show, I have never watched A League of Their Own front to back. Never watched the entire thing.
You got to do it.
Yeah. One of these days when I have free time, and it's on my list. But my 2 favorite movies about baseball, because they are so quotable and so good, Major League and Bull Durham. And you know, if you've never said "up your butt, Joe Boo," you know, you're just not living life right. So
I will say League of Their Own. One of the things that I quote from that movie, probably almost weekly, was Tom Hanks yelling at one of his players, and he says, "Why don't you use that lump 3 feet above your ass?" That is, to me, one of my favorite quotes ever from a movie. So I use that all the time. Like somebody will do something stupid on the hockey rink, and I go, "Use that lump 3 feet above your ass."
Nice.
So rapid fire hockey tidbits we're getting to now. Unfortunately, folks, it's all about the Chicago Blackhawks. So for those of you who are big Blues fans, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later. No, I'm kidding. Unfortunately, the first news story we have to get here is one that I'm not comfortable talking about. Former assistant coach Bradley Aldridge allegedly sexually assaulted an ex-player in 2010. According to reports, the team did nothing after the player informed skills coach Paul Vincent. Vincent brought it to President John McDonough, GM Stan Bowman, VP of Hockey Ops Al McIsaac, and mental skills coach James Gary. Vincent told them to file a report with Chicago police, which they refused. This is the part that gets me mostly, honestly, as bad as all this was already. After leaving the Hawks, Aldrich went to coach a boys' high school team in Houghton, Michigan. Aldrich was convicted. I'm sorry?
Houghton.
Aldridge was convicted in 2013 in Michigan of 4th-degree criminal sexual conduct involving a student. Allegations indicate that the Blackhawks gave Aldridge positive references when he left the Blackhawks. One player said every guy on the team knew about it, talking about his sexual assault of the ex-player for the 2010 team. Want to give some props here to Katie Strange of, I think that's how you say her name, Katie Strang, maybe. Strang. Yeah, she's typically an Arizona Coyotes reporter, but she's been uncovering a lot of this, and she's done a fantastic job over at she's with The Athletic, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so if you have not checked out anything she's written about this, definitely go check it out. She's done a great job. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, Bill. I know you probably don't either. This is not easy to talk about. I'll add that if these allegations are untrue and unfounded, I hope justice prevails. But it does seem pretty damning from what we've heard. And if this is all true, that this coach, Paul Vincent, brought it to all of his superiors and they did nothing, all of those people who are still employed within the NHL or any other hockey ranks need to lose their jobs this minute. Stan Bowman, for one, if he knew about this and let it happen and then gave positive references to this high school team for this guy, get the fuck out of here. Again, allegedly, if this is true, get the fuck out. You're not needed in this. I don't care about anything else you've done in the sport. You could have dedicated your life to charity or letting kids play who normally would never get a chance to play hockey. You do that one thing. You give a positive reference to somebody you know has been a sexual deviant. You better never work in the sport again. Get the hell out.
Yeah, shows an absolute, if true, absolute lack of integrity, and an environment that has absolute zero accountability. And again, if true, there's got to be some kind of culpability for what happened in Houghton. I mean, you don't give a positive reference, and like you said, don't want to talk about it. It's a lot of speculation. But I think the other guy that I've seen, or the other reporter that I've seen, who's done a lot of work on this, is Rick Westhead from TSN. And he's been pushing for Bettman to say that they will do a thorough investigation. And every soundbite that every quote that I've seen suggests that's absolutely not going to happen.
Which is sickening,
right? And that's the old boys nature, old boys network nature of the NHL. It's a private run, for-profit enterprise, and they don't have to be held accountable to anyone, and that is that's tough to take, to know that you can't count on the league to do the right thing because they don't want to have a bad reputation.
I just look at it as, again, this Aldrich fella. He was convicted in 2013, which tells me he is guilty, and he's a piece of shit of fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct involving a student. I hope that when that happened, that all the powers that be in Chicago looked at each other and said, wow, we fucked up. Because if they turned their back on the rest of the hockey community when they did this, and just let it happen. I mean, they are responsible, obviously not as responsible as Coach Aldrich himself, but they are very responsible for what happened here. And it's maddening. It's sickening. When I read this story, I actually had to walk away several times to get through the original article that Katie String had posted. I hope justice prevails here, but this is maddening. If this is all true, and Stan Bowman is still the GM of the Blackhawks come October, I'm going to lose a lot of faith in the NHL. A lot. It's going to be hard to watch their product because that should not stand. So on to a little bit of brighter news. I'm sorry, Bill. Do you have something else to add?
No, I was just agreeing with you. Absolutely. Can't take it.
Yep. On a little bit brighter news, Jonathan Toews, captain of the Blackhawks, will return next season, he says. He reveals that he had chronic immune response syndrome disease, which feels like it's just a lot of random words strung together. But it is a real thing, by the way. In a video he tweeted from his personal account on Wednesday, he says, quote, "I just think there were a lot of things just piled up where my body just fell apart. So what they're calling it was chronic immune response syndrome, where I just couldn't quite recover and my immune system was reacting to everything that I did, any kind of stress, anything that I would do throughout the day." A lot of that has been tied to possible COVID exposure. He never actually truly tested positive, but we've heard tales from people outside of sports that they have suffered from issues from their COVID positive test for months and months and months. So very possible this happened to Toews, but nothing truly on the record. But it does seem that he's ready to go. Obviously, Blackhawks hopefully will be back in the Blues division this year, and we will hate them once again. We will hate Jonathan Toews for everything he does on the ice, but I will say it is very awesome to have him back in the NHL. Hope he makes a full recovery. Hope he comes back to being the Captain Serious that we all know from him, and that he can lead the Blackhawks and play his best hockey. So therefore, we can hate him all over again.
Right. Is as much of a Blues killer as he was, and in his career. Hopefully, he will come back and contribute to the rivalry. The hockey world is a much better place with Jonathan Toews in it, and it's good to have a guy that you could say I could respect him if he wasn't a Hawk. Right.
Yeah.
There are a few guys on that team still that you can never respect. Duncan Keith, who I think is going to be in another talking point here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Patrick Kane that, can't respect. But Toews, it was weird. Not that I watched any Hawks games because they weren't in our division. But it was just weird whenever you'd see the random highlight. Never hearing his name. So
yeah, it was weird the whole year without him. And I think I've said this on the show before. I do own a Blackhawks Toews jersey. I do actually like Jonathan Toews, even though he scored a dagger goal against the Blues in 2014, and like you said, has been a Blues killer before and after that. But I respect his game, and I respect the hell out of him. I think he's a real consummate professional, carries himself in the right way as an NHL player, and clearly respected by his teammates. So again, I want to root against him. I want him. This whole year I'm rooting that he comes back and he feels healthy and he gets better. I don't want to root for you anymore, Jonathan Toews, as much as I like you. I want to root against you. So I'm glad to see that hopefully he'll be back at 100% this season. Reports indicate that Duncan Keith, as you kind of just snuck to, he may be on the move. Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman reported that he plans to return closer to home to Western Canada. He specifically quoted Pacific Northwest or Western Canada. So chance he gets moved, I guess, probably more to the Pacific Division is the idea, but I'm guessing Calgary and Edmonton are included in that as well. But that's going to be an interesting move. The Blackhawks are going to have to sweeten the deal somehow. There's going to have to be some draft picks involved. I don't see a team because he's still an NHL defenseman. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know his salary exactly. But they're going to have to sweeten the pot if someone's going to take on his contract, because if you remember, he was one of those guys that signed a huge deal after they won the Cup in 2010, and right. I know they're still paying for that.
Yeah, didn't take the time to look it up, but I guess he could be an interesting target for Seattle, right? That fits the bill, Pacific Northwest.
Yeah,
looking for an anchor defenseman. He's probably got a year or two left in the tank, I would think. So maybe they could swallow that the cap hit. I hope that, I don't know that there are going to be any more expansion teams, but I hope that not everybody's going to expect every expansion team to be Vegas. I think they still have to expect to be Ottawa, San Jose, where those first couple of years are rough. But I don't know. This is the parity NHL. I guess anything could happen. But yeah, it'll be different. The NHL will be without David Backes and Duncan Keith now on the Blackhawks. The times have changed.
Brent Seabrook's gone too.
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to correct myself. I said he signed after they won the Cup. That's actually incorrect. His current contract he signed on December 3rd in 2009. 13-year deal, which is obviously no longer allowed. He's under contract till 2022-2023, so that means he's got 2 years left. And his cap hit is at 5.53, and his actual salary he's going to make this year at 2.1, and next year at 1.5. So
that's
very
easy to take.
Yeah, very front-loaded contract. Now that I look at that, I'm like, they could probably move that as long as a team has some cap space. I'm looking at a younger team like Vancouver. You mentioned Seattle is probably a potential target. Maybe even in Edmonton who could use a defenseman. Yeah, I could easily see that contract being moved. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. You never thought you'd see the end of that contract when it was signed. Those cap circumventing, Detroit was the first team to do it, and Chicago mastered it. So, God, we're old. 13 years later.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Oh, man, crazy stuff. So YouTube comments we want to get to. AC Generator, another great quote from League of Their Own. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. Bill, so this kid comes up to him, to tell you the quick story. Kid comes up to him and says, "Hey, Mr. Dugan." So Jimmy Dugan, which is Tom Hanks, he's a former professional baseball player. He ends up coaching the women's team while the men are away at war. And so this kid comes up, "Jimmy Dugan, oh my God, can I have your autograph?" And he signs it, and the kid reads out loud. He reads what he signs, and he goes, "Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. Wow, thanks, mister." And it's, again, just one of those quotes that is just, it will live down forever because it's ridiculous. But he had a lot of those in that movie. So, again, Bill, make that a point. You need to watch that movie. It holds up to today. It still does.
Well, it's baseball is as American as the 4th of July and apple pie. So maybe that'll be my baseball intake for the weekend.
That's a good idea. There you go. Find way. It's only it's not that long of a movie. I think it's an hour and 45 minutes, so you can find time. Austin Lynch says, "Am I late?" Yes. Yes, Austin, we are wrapping up. You are late, my friend. Bill, hope you had fun on today's show because we are wrapping up. Support for Let's Go Blues Radio is brought to you in part by ID Life, the world's only truly personalized vitamin platform based on a health assessment of your DNA. Visit rockinthatidlife.com for more information. That's rockinthatidlife.com and get 10% off by texting Dustin at 636-393-8745 and tell him Let's Go Blues Radio sent you. Again, that's 636-393-8745. Also brought to you by Center Ice Brewery, St. Louis's hockey-themed brewery. Visit centericebrewery.com today to schedule a no-contact curbside pickup or to make a reservation in their awesome tap room. While you're there and enjoying a number of their fantastic beers, you can admire the bar top and tables made of authentic arena wood. Located at 3126 Olive Street in Midtown St. Louis. It's one of the best places to watch a Blues game. That's centericebrewery.com. Please drink responsibly. And again, I will mention tomorrow night, Game 3. I will be there for to watch. Hopefully, the Canadiens get a big win. Bill, I hope you can join us. It'll be a good time, and I think we're gonna have fun. Even if the Canadiens lose, it's still gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, and we can at least pour beers on Tampa fans.
It's the way I see it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that will do it for episode 42 of season 9 of the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the show. We had a blast doing it, as always, folks, so thank you for tuning in. For Kurt Price on assignment and Bill Day, I'm Jeff Ponder, and this was Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues. Go Habs, go.
Go Habs, go.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at sports.
I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
I want you to have a heart attack and die so that we never have to do this shit again.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to #1. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win. They'll always get one more, no matter what the score. They are quite a hockey team, my friend. They never give a single